I forgot to save the last filter, so we're just gonna use this one. I don't care. So part two. Um, I'll do the trick warning thing again. So then the next time I make an attempt, I think I'm in high school. There might have been attempts in between, but I don't fucking remember. I took a whole bunch of stuff, and like I had insomnia really bad. Oh, I didn't realize it changed colors. Well, I had really bad insomnia, and when I was trying, every time I tried to tell my mom that something was wrong with me, she just kept saying that nothing was wrong with me. And I told her I had insomnia, and I was like, I literally can't sleep at night because every night I would try to go to sleep, I would just lay there. I would close my eyes, and I might even have been like half conscious, but I would be able to hear everything. Like I was aware of everything. So I was just laying there. It wasn't sleep paralysis because at any point I could have just wiggled and gotten myself up. It was just like, I want to say like my body was asleep, but I was awake, but that's like what sleep paralysis is. It was just something in between, something not quite the sleep paralysis that everybody talks about, but also not completely conscious either. And I was just stuck there whenever I tried to sleep. And it was driving me insane because it's just like I know I should be sleeping and I'm not. And I would go days only reaching that half sleep state. And I could move at any point, like any twitch, and I could just get right up. There was no real paralysis to it. It was just me laying there with my eyes closed, aware of everything, not sleeping, but still just sitting there. And this was before, I had any access to anything, any spiritual knowledge or anything like that. So, but I would always wake up tired. And I hated it. I went so long like that, it drove me insane. And then on top of that, I had to keep going to school. And I just, not being believed about actually having fucking real problems is one of the most frustrating fucking things. Like, I get it. Sometimes kids like complain about a lot of different stuff and it's not like anything big, but like at some point when you're complaining for years, somebody got to do something. And so yeah, I kind of had enough at this point. So I took a bunch of shit because I was sick and I had a headache and I kept forgetting where what I was even doing because I always had headaches. I had severe migraines for ever. And then I was just like, I don't want to wake up. And then I went to sleep. And it's funny because I went to that like nothing place that people talk about in their like near death experiences. And when I went there, without words, of course, because I usually don't get a lot of my insights and messages from words. Basically, when I went there, it felt peaceful all around me, but it heightened because I had always had a pain in my heart chakra my whole life. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. My heart's right here, you know? And I didn't know, I wasn't aware of what a heart chakra was back then. Um, but I had always had like a pain in the center of my chest my entire life. I can't remember a time where I didn't have this pain. And I had it so long, I don't even remember when it stopped. But that pain was actually heightened when I went there. And I was told basically that if I was to leave now, if I was to stay gone, that I would be away from everything, but that pain wasn't going to go away. And that was the last time I actually made an attempt. And yeah. So yeah, that was the last time I ever made an attempt, and I like waking up from that was just like, oh, okay, fuck it. Then I just guess I gotta stick here. And so yeah, I did end up being sent back, and I had this thing where when I did sleep, I would stop breathing, and I would wake up like gasping a lot. So I would never sleep through the night when I did sleep. Whenever I did actually manage to fall completely into unconsciousness, like normal people do, I would wake up because I would stop breathing. And yeah, and I had a problem with that while being awake too. Sometimes it's like my body sometimes forgets to breathe while I'm awake, and then I don't realize it until my like warning bells start going off. And yeah, I experienced a lot of weird shit when I was younger. And then the next out of body experience that I ended up having was living in the haunted house. Now, according to. Oh shit. I'm trying to protect my phone from the sun and the damn thing fell. But yeah, according to other people in that house, one of my sisters ended up getting like possessed and it like manifested or whatever, and then they had to do some kind of like casting out. Um, and at the end of all of that, like she was explaining what it was that had taken over her body and stuff like that, which fair enough. This fucking house was haunted, so there was no doubt in my mind about like there being other things there and potentially taking over because they got really really close sometimes. And um, we had a epidemic where like we had a fish tank full of fish and they just kept dying. Like it was weird. Um, but as soon as it was like all over, something like takes hold of my body and starts to speak. And when I tell you, like, whatever this thing was, it was like super powerful, very loving, a super powerful, very loving energy. Like, every breath that came out of my body held power at this point. And then, like, as it was speaking through me, it was speaking to my sister. And so I was talking to like I was both a witness and like kind of I was in both places at once, like the sunken place and like me as me at the same time as this energy was speaking through me. And I was talking to her and telling her it's going to be okay and then what was going to happen from here, and just explaining to her everything is fine, you are safe, you are protected, stuff like that. And I happened to say like a bit of information that um, about what was going to happen to the entity that had taken over. And then somebody else in the room was just like, you can't say that. You can't determine that. You're not the one who gets to decide. And then the connection severed. And I fell to the ground because like I was exhausted. That thing was I wasn't used to that. So yeah, I like fell to my knees. I guess part 3.